Chadwick, it's a wedding. A bad one. Where is my water? Nelson screamed at nobody in particular. It was the day of the wedding, and Nelson was in prime form with the staff at the Logendorf Hotel Event Center. Look, I paid you guys a lot of money. Can you just be functional as humans for like 2 minutes? Nelson demanded from the flabbergasted staff. Nelson had been running around all morning, screaming at every person he saw. He saw a young woman putting a flower arrangement together in the wedding aisle. He ran up to her. "Do not mess up," Nelson screamed at her. "This is my day and it will be perfect." Yet again, Nelson was more focused on his perceived image than reality. He wanted everything to be perfect, not for Kate, but for how the wedding guests would think of him. Nelson had spent the past 2 weeks planning each tiny detail of his wedding. Would it go off as he wanted? Kate was quietly sitting in a back room waiting for her wedding. Every little girl's dream, and I am living it today, Kate thought to herself. What Kate was wondering, however, was why she felt so hollow. There was a quiet knock on the door. Kate stood up and opened the door. Greeting her was a very plain-looking young woman. "Can I help you?" Kate asked. The girl nodded at her. "Yeah, my name is Grace. I'm your maid of honor. Nelson told me to come meet you before the wedding," she said softly. Grace was a very shy person, and Kate was able to tell that right away. "Oh, hello, Grace. It's very nice to meet you," Kate said in a friendly manner. What feels so off about this? Kate asked herself. Still under the control of the serum Rex made, Kate couldn't quite finish the puzzle yet. The cracks, however, were starting to form. Okay, I got it, Brohim. We get a fighter jet, and I will fly it in and bomb the buffet. Then you sneak in and karate chop Nelson in the throat. End of story, we save the day, Doug said proudly. Chadwick chuckled. Brah, where are we going to get a fighter jet? Chadwick asked logically. Doug scratched his head and pondered the question. Brah, we gotta have a better plan. It's like the story when two rabbits fell into a bottle of syrup. One fell asleep and the other made pancakes. We need to make pancakes, Broseph, Chadwick explained. Doug was now even more confused than before. Pancakes? He asked. Chadwick nodded in reply. Brah, I really like Kate. I need to save her. And not just for myself. For Kate. She's awesome. And Turner Frampton somehow tricked her into being all sucky, he explained to Doug. Doug could sense Chadwick's concern. It was the first time Doug saw him care about anything that deeply. As Chadwick and Doug talked, the door of the basement opened. DM and Jeff made their way into the cloudy confines of the room. Jeff had abandoned his disguise, other than the cowboy hat that he seemed to really like. DM, alien dude, Chadwick said as he acknowledged them both. Doug and Chadwick were both looking at Jeff. Jeff smiled at them. DM started to talk. Oh, okay, look. This is a little weird, but I can explain. I was driving the truck out to the site of a crash. A car hit some kind of weather balloon. The guy who owned the car was a real Nelson, but he paid me. He got picked up by his friend. I was hooking up the car and I saw smoke in a field. I walked into the field and saw the ship. He was sitting inside it and his big eyes looking at me, CM explained. How could I say no? So I asked him if he wanted to come home with me and he nodded. I named him Jeff because it seems dignified. Brah, makes sense. I've been there, Chadwick said to CM. Doug had a shocked look on his face but said nothing. CM gave Chadwick a hug as tears flowed down his face. Thank you kindly, Chadwick. See, Jeff? I told you he would get it. You are my bro. Our bro, Chadwick. Nelson was walking everyone through one final rehearsal for the wedding. He wanted everything perfect. Kate, you were a gymnast. You don't have two left feet. Why do you look so stiff when walking? We need it to look natural, Kate. This needs to be perfect. Try it again, Nelson screamed at Kate. She had practiced her walk down the aisle 11 times, and still Nelson wasn't happy with it. Nelson, can't I just walk how I feel? Is this that big of a deal? Kate asked. Nelson's face turned bright red. Yes. Simply yes. Now turn around and do it right this time, Nelson demanded. Kate released a huge sigh as she got ready to try again. Kate was becoming more and more bothered by Nelson and how he treated her. The serum, while effective, had its limits. Nelson was pushing those limits to the max. We have one chance to get this right, CM said to everyone. Chadwick had been going over the plan with the group. Eva had walked in a few minutes after CM and Jeff. Jeff was busy in the corner playing with Chadwick's electronic dartboard. No, Jeff, no! We do not eat the darts, CM screamed at Jeff as he ran over to save the darts from digestion. Again. Chadwick, this is a serious situation, Eva said. Bruh, Eva, I know. We need to save Kate from this buttlord, Chadwick proclaimed. Yeah, Eva help, Eva said. She looked at Chadwick seriously. Kate really like you. You make Kate happy, Eva explained. You save Kate. You take care of Kate. Understood? Brah, yeah, Chadwick replied. Eva smiled at him. Good, Chadwick. Because if you mess up, Eva going to crush you like small bug in field of Switzerland, Eva said with a serious look. Chadwick pulled down his sunglasses and looked at Eva. Brah, I got this, Chadwick said confidently. Grace handed Kate her bouquet of flowers. Wow, Kate, you're such a nice person. And a beautiful bride. It's just... Grace said as she trailed off. It's just what, Grace? Kate asked. It's just... I don't know what someone as nice and as beautiful as you are doing with someone like Nelson, Grace replied. Oh, well, he has his better points. He just doesn't always show them in public, Kate said. That statement alone made Kate think, why am I defending him? He's a terrible person, Kate thought to herself. She forced a smile at Grace, who smiled back. What a nice girl Grace is, Kate thought. How did Nelson find her to be my maid of honor? When Kate started thinking about her maid of honor, she thought about Eva. They were best friends, but things went south. Wait, did it go south? Kate asked herself. She tried to piece together what happened with Eva, but she couldn't. She just missed her and felt like there was something missing on her wedding day because of it. Maybe I will call her tomorrow and see if she's willing to talk to me. As Kate sat with Grace, the door to her room flew open. It was Nelson. He glared at Grace. Grace, leave. I told you not to bother Kate. Now, Nelson screamed. Grace quickly left the room. Nelson looked at Kate. Why were you so mean to her? She wasn't doing anything, Kate said, shocked at Nelson's crudeness. Hey, I am protecting you, he replied. Funny, I don't recall asking for your protection, Kate said sarcastically. Really? Need I remind you of the Chadwick situation and how off track that got you? I was the only thing that saved you from turning into street trash, Nelson replied sharply. Kate looked at him. Kate, shut up and listen. I know that's hard for you, Nelson started. We're about 20 minutes away. Still final checks. Make sure your hair and makeup are perfect. No mistakes today. Understood? Nelson stated coldly. Kate, unsure of how to reply, just nodded. Nelson quickly drove home. He ran inside, sprinted to the basement door, and plugged in his door code. 111715. That number was the date of the science fair when Chadwick beat Nelson. He never forgot that date. Nelson booked his way downstairs. Rex was watching Family Matters and eating a chili dog. Oh, hey, wedding done? Rex asked casually. Nelson grabbed him by the shoulders and shook him. Serum, do you have more of it? Nelson asked frantically. No, Rex replied. Nelson looked at him, shocked. So make some, he screamed. Rex shook his head. Dude, that isn't the easiest thing to make. I need stuff for it that I don't have. If you give me 2 days, I can do it, Rex explained. Nelson shook his head. I need it now, just to be safe, Nelson said. Are you being nice? Because that has a lot more to do with it than I initially let on, Rex replied with a smirk. Nelson quickly grabbed him by the throat. Rex looked him in the eyes, and Nelson casually released his grip. Sorry, Rex. I'm just having a stressful day. My apologies, chum, Nelson replied. Rex saw the fear in Nelson's eyes when he grabbed him. Nelson smiled, then quickly ran out of the house to get back to the wedding. As he ran out the door, Nelson forgot to shut and lock his basement door, leaving it wide open. Brah! Okay, so we good on the plan? Chadwick asked the group. Brohim, is this too complicated on purpose? I'm not sure how I feel about renting a leotard again. Last time I didn't get my money back. $113 is a big chunk for a pizza delivery driver, Doug stammered. Eva chuckled as she put her arm around Doug. Bruh, fine, Chadwick said. We removed the part where Doug and Jeff do an interpretive dance for 15 minutes to distract everyone. Jeff, who was already wearing a leotard, frowned as he walked into the bathroom to change. You know, I think the key here is we just get Chadwick near Kate, CM said. Everyone nodded. Bruh, yeah, we could totally do this, just like the wise acorn told the other acorns, Chadwick said. Everyone looked at him. Chadwick smiled. Brohim, what did the wise acorns say? Doug asked. Bruh, what? I'm not talking about acorns. Let's go save Kate, Chadwick replied. Jeff looked at Chadwick. Then he turned his head and looked at everyone else. Jeff then smiled before nodding in total agreement. God, I love that Urkel guy, Rex chuckled out loud. He was, again, watching Family Matters. He stood up and got a root beer out of the fridge Nelson had gotten for him. God, Nelson's such a jerk, he thought to himself. I wonder how he will fumble this wedding. Rex took a big sip of his root beer as he walked back to his TV. He felt the draft. Whoa, draft, he thought. There isn't usually a draft. I wonder what's going on. Rex walked towards the steps and looked up. The door was swinging wide open, making a creak with each swing. Rex saw his chance. He knew the risk. Nelson would chase after him, maybe even call the authorities. To Rex, the risk was worth it. He bolted out the door, almost moving at super speed as he ran out the door. He only had one objective: find Chadwick. Rex had sprinted to Chadwick's house after borrowing a child's phone to Google the address. He quickly knocked on the door. Dennis answered. Oh my, Chadwick, I thought you would be younger and better looking, Rex said through heavy breaths. Hello, sir. Mr. Chadwick is downstairs with his friends. Would you like to join them? Dennis asked. Yeah. Did my demeanor and rushed nature not get that message across? Rex replied. Sir, I've seen a lot of things working with Mr. Chadwick, So your lack of cardiovascular training is simply not a concern of mine, Dennis replied. Lack of? I could beat you in a race any day of the week, you. No, no. Focus. I need to see Chadwick now, please, kind sir, Rex said, trying to be polite. Dennis nodded and pointed Rex towards the basement. Rex quickly ran to the door and opened it, bolting inside. He turned around and saw a group of people staring at him. He saw Jeff smiling at him. Wow, what a group, Rex said as he looked at everyone. Brah, who are you? Chadwick asked Rex. Oh, hi. I'm Rex. Look, I need to talk to Chadwick. Is that this one? Rex asked as he pointed at Jeff. Jeff smelled the finger Rex put in his face, smiled, and shook his head. Chadwick stepped forward. Brah, Chadwick. Nice to meet you, Rex, Chadwick replied. Okay, look. I've been held hostage in Nelson's basement for 7 agonizing months. It's a long story, whatever, Rex started. Nelson forced me to make a potion that would allow him to control Kate. As Rex finished his sentence, Eva punched him right in the face. Chadwick stepped forward and stopped her. Brah, Rex, what kind of potion? And how do I stop it? Chadwick asked. Rex rubbed his jaw. Wow, you must work out, tall angry lady. I deserve that punch, I get it, Rex said. Look, I didn't want to make it. I hate that ass clown as much as anyone else. I just had no choice. The thing is, it has a flaw. Nelson has to treat Kate nicely in order for it to work. And we all know how he is. Brah, that is a huge flaw, Chadwick said. Rex looked at Chadwick. Dude, go save that girl and put an end to this jerk, Rex yelled. Nelson was standing at the altar waiting for the arrival of Kate. His best man was behind him. Nelson had picked a best man who didn't ask questions and was easy to control. Just like everything else in Nelson's life, he wanted complete control. The preacher, who was set to marry them, walked past Nelson to take his place at the altar. As the preacher walked by, he tripped and stepped on Nelson's shoe, leaving a tiny black scuff on Nelson's bright white shoe. Hey, you buffoon! You stepped on my shoe! It's ruined now! You've ruined the whole wedding! Nelson screamed. The best man quickly knelt down and wiped the scuff off Nelson's shoe. Thanks, Ted. This idiot almost ruined the wedding, Nelson muttered. Nelson took a deep breath and composed himself. From the back, Kate saw the entire commotion. What am I doing? Kate asked herself. She just saw Nelson almost attack the preacher. He had been treating everyone terribly all day. Maybe he is just stressed, Kate thought to herself. Suddenly, Kate had a wave of memories. She remembered how poorly Nelson treated everyone. On their first date, Nelson spent 15 minutes dressing down the waiter for setting his drink on the wrong side of his plate. Kate had watched Nelson push down a kid who had driven his bike on his lawn. Who am I marrying? Kate asked herself. She started remembering why she was with him. The way he held her hand so softly as they looked into one another's eyes. The safety she felt when his arms were around her. The way his attitude was so carefree and in the moment. Kate felt so happy and safe as she was lost in her own memories. She looked up in her memory and made eye contact. It was at that moment that Kate had a realization. She wasn't fondly thinking about Nelson. The face she saw was Chadwick's. She looked at herself in the mirror before quietly whispering to herself, I love Chadwick. The wedding march hit over the organ, and Grace gestured for Kate to make her walk. Kate tried to compose herself, giving Grace a half-hearted smile. Kate began her walk, trying to move slowly. Full-blown panic had set in. What do I do? Kate asked herself. Nelson was waiting for her, impatiently tapping his foot while glancing at his watch. Kate started walking towards the altar. She looked around the room. All strangers, she thought to herself. Kate had somehow lost herself completely over the past few weeks. She didn't recognize who or what she was. Why am I tolerating Nelson when he clearly sucks? Kate looked at Nelson as she got closer and closer. Each step down the aisle felt like a step closer to the gallows. How was Kate going to get out of this? She had no escape. Kate was stuck. Stuck and about to become Mrs. Nelson Finkelman. Thank you. Please be seated. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to unite this happy loving couple in holy matrimony, the preacher started. Nelson had a huge smile on his face. Kate, meanwhile, was doing a poor job of hiding her panic. Luckily for Kate, Nelson wasn't paying any attention to her. He was too busy basking in the glory of everyone paying attention to him. He looked out across the crowd. He recognized people from work. He didn't invite his parents because he thought they looked too old, but he nodded at his cousin Derek. As he continued to scan the room, he saw a tall figure. I wonder who that is, Nelson thought to himself. The person turned around, and Nelson immediately recognized Eva. What is she doing here? He wondered. Nelson looked at the preacher and whispered, Hey, chum, can you hurry this up? Kate, who heard Nelson's whisper, looked back at the audience where she saw Eva. For the first time all day, a smile came across Kate's face. When two souls unite as one, the preacher droned on. Nelson was fidgeting about Eva's presence. He kept looking back at her. As he turned, he noticed something green in the corner of his eye. He quickly shot his eyes to the other back corner of the room. Standing there, with a grin and waving, was Rex. What? How did he escape? Nelson thought, his concern showing on his face. Rex sat down to watch the wedding as Nelson glared at him. Nelson then noticed a commotion by the back doors. His eyes shot to the doors. He saw CM arguing with an usher. Please kick him out, Nelson prayed to himself. Where are these troublemakers coming from? Nelson wondered. He looked at the other set of doors and saw a blue Hawaiian shirt and a bucket hat. Doug! Nelson was now worried. Why were all these people at his wedding? Nelson was growing more and more concerned. As I said earlier when talking about my own marriage, sometimes things are hard, but if you just ignore, the preacher continued. Nelson kept looking around the room. He looked out the window and saw Jeff standing outside next to a tree eating a green popsicle. Jeff smiled and slowly nodded at him. Nelson was now in a full-blown panic attack. He cut off the preacher. Hey, look, chum. Great story. Love it. But stop talking about this nonsense and marry us. We have a plane to catch, and I'd hate to be late for that, Nelson pleaded. Kate, seeing an opening, spoke up. Now, Nelson, he's trying to share his wisdom with us. Let's be respectful and listen, she said slyly. Wisdom? He's a rambling old fool, Nelson screamed. The wedding came to a halt as everyone stopped and stared at Nelson. Oh, ha, 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 just kidding. Go on, fine sir, Nelson said. He turned to Kate, who gave him a sly smile. What is she doing? Nelson wondered to himself. Nelson looked at his watch, hoping this would move faster so it could be done and he could declare victory over Chadwick. Now then, before we exchange our vows, if there is anyone who feels these two should not be married, please speak, the preacher started, but was cut off by Nelson. Whoa, buddy, just skip that part, he said to the preacher. I mean, come on, Nelson. If our wedding's going to be perfect, we have to go through each part, Kate said with a smile. Nelson shook his head. No. Kate, I don't like your attitude. We have a plane to catch. Just to the I do part now, Nelson said, trying to encourage the preacher to move the wedding along. Look, Mr. Finkelberg, I'm required by the state to follow this script or it doesn't count. Okay? The preacher informed Nelson, calling him the wrong name. Nelson was now sweating bullets, hoping to make it through this as quickly as possible. As the preacher got ready to speak again, the sound of an engine revving up was heard from the lobby. Nelson immediately went pale. Everyone stopped and looked back towards the lobby as the engine got louder. Doug opened one of the doors and an orange flash came through the door. Chadwick and Jethro. Chadwick rode Jethro to the altar, crashing into it and sending Nelson's best man, Ted, flying into a bouquet of flowers, sending rose petals flying everywhere. Chadwick got off Jethro. Brah, dude, sorry about knocking you to those flowers, Chadwick said. Go away! Stop ruining my day! Nelson screamed. Chadwick turned to him and grabbed him by the collar. Brah, Stinkleman, you suck, Chadwick screamed at him. The people in the audience gave Chadwick a golf clap for his comment. You are trespassing! Kate, call the police! Nelson begged. Kate shook her head. Brah, Kate, I know you aren't that stoked on me right now, but I have something you need to hear, Chadwick said. Brah, Rex, come on up, Chadwick said. Nelson turned pale as Rex walked to the altar. Brah, Rex has been trapped in Nelson's basement. Tell him, broski, Chadwick said. Hello, hi everyone. I've always wanted to speak at a wedding, just not like this. But I digress, Rex started. Brah, get to the point, Rex, Chadwick said. Oh, right, my apologies. Nelson here has been keeping me locked in his basement for 7 months, Rex said as everyone gasped. Now, it wasn't like a Gacy situation, it was more of a, hey, do what I say or I will tell on you situation. The key point is this. Nelson had me make a serum that would allow him to control Kate, which worked really well. I do good work, Rex said proudly. Rex, I will kill you, Nelson screamed as he lunged at Rex. Chadwick stuck his foot out and tripped Nelson, who face-planted on the floor. Wait! You gave me a serum so I would obey you? Kate snarled at Nelson. Kate, look, my dear, you needed it. You weren't listening to me, Nelson begged. Kate looked at him, then reached back before punching Nelson right between the eyes. He collapsed on the floor. Kate turned to Chadwick. Look, Chadwick, I'm so sorry for what I said to you. I don't know who or what I am or what I want right now, Kate said, her confusion evident. Chadwick walked up to her and put his arms around her. Brah, Kate, I know who you are, Chadwick said as he leaned in and gave Kate a deep kiss as she melted into his arms. Kate, I love you, Chadwick said as he held Kate. I love you too, Kate said. The two kissed a second time as the entire wedding audience cheered for them. Kate and Chadwick embraced as Doug and Eva made their way up front. Eva gave Kate a huge hug. I am so sorry, Eva, Kate said as they embraced. It okay. Small Kate was drugged by maniac, Eva replied. Nelson, sporting a knuckle-shaped bruise in the middle of his forehead, stood up and looked at everyone. You all laughed at me. This is not over, Nelson screamed. He then turned to Chadwick. You did not win. I will defeat you, Chadwick, he screamed. Brah, I think I won, Chadwick said as he put his arm around Kate. I will make sure each and every one of you pays for this, Nelson screamed as he ran out the door. Chadwick chuckled and turned to the rest of the group. Brah, you guys want to get some tacos at Chester's? Chadwick asked. Everyone nodded and headed out the door. Kate grabbed Chadwick's arm and stopped him. Thank you, Chadwick, for never giving up on me, Kate said. Brah, Kate, I would never give up on you. I got your back, remember? Chadwick said with a smirk. Kate jumped in his arms, giving him one last kiss before they headed off for tacos. Chadwick and Kate were finally together. Everything seemed like it was good in the world. For now.